Greetings, dear friend, and welcome once more to Sleep Science Top 1, where this evening we embark on a serene journey into the advantages and true essence of solitude. Solitude evokes a sense of stillness, conjuring images of late evenings when the world takes on a gentler quality and the rhythm of life begins to ease. Regardless of whether you often find yourself in solitude or encounter brief moments of peace, the underlying science of these experiences uncovers patterns that are more inherent than many tend to acknowledge. Individuals, regardless of gender, navigate the ebb and flow of intimacy and solitude, and the mind undergoes a gentle transformation as the surrounding environment settles into tranquility. Solitude alters the sensory environment that envelops you. As external demands diminish, the brain conserves energy by reducing its focus on the movements, tones, and expressions of others, enabling deeper neural networks to establish more gradual patterns. As attention shifts inward, there is a notable rise in activity within the inner mind's gentle drift, allowing the gentle flow of thought to unfold more seamlessly, free from disruption. That quiet turn inward can feel heavy at first, but it's exactly why silence slowly becomes a warm, comforting place for your mind. The brain shifts from external awareness to introspective contemplation, a change grounded in biological processes rather than individual traits. In these tranquil moments, the lack of external distractions allows for more delicate processes to emerge. Subtle changes in breathing emerge, and the nervous system slowly detaches from the rapid cycles of reactive thought. Research indicates that in a tranquil environment, cortisol levels quietly drop, giving your body a gentle chance to unwind and reset from the stress it's been carrying all day. The mind may drift, but it drifts with a gentle ease, gliding in smooth curves instead of abrupt shifts. Even memory takes on a different quality, softly solidifying experiences as the weight of social interaction recedes into the distance. Being alone gives your mind a soft, safe space to just breathe and take a gentle break from everything else. In the absence of the need to decipher others' expressions or predict forthcoming dialogues, one's focus can shift to a more tranquil state. This creates space for a mental loosening that frequently escapes attention, the gentle easing of thoughts no longer tightly bound to the day's occurrences. Small studies indicate that even brief moments of uninterrupted solitude can transform patterns in the prefrontal cortex, promoting slower, evaluative thinking and assisting the mind in reorienting itself following prolonged periods of stimulation. In solitude, a neutral landscape emerges, allowing cognitive rhythms to unfold freely, without haste and unnoticed. If you find pleasure in these serene journeys, consider subscribing. And if you wish, share a thought below about your listening location this evening. It guides individuals to this serene nook of the world, one drowsy wanderer at a time. For the moment, you may permit the tempo to ease even more, allowing the mind to release its hold on the day as we softly transition into the essence of solitude. It is a pleasure to have you here. People often think solitude is just one feeling, but science shows it's a gentle, layered experience that touches us in quiet, personal ways. Being alone and feeling lonely are two very different things. Your mind and body respond to them in completely separate, gentle ways. Loneliness weighs heavy because it misses connection. Solitude is simply the soft feeling of being with yourself. Nothing more, nothing less. The condition exists in a state of neutrality, influenced not solely by external circumstances, but also by the reactions of the nervous system as outside activity diminishes. Both men and women undergo these transformations, yet the patterns emerge in subtly distinct manners, influenced by biology, culture, and the delicate structure of the mind. As the environment quiets down, the mind shifts its attention away from observing social cues. This observation, noting expressions, gestures, micro-movements, and tone, remains perpetually engaged, even in moments of unawareness. In solitude, the external watchfulness fades, permitting mental energy to redirect toward inner workings. Research indicates that when individuals find themselves in solitude, their cognitive load diminishes, paving the way for a more deliberate and contemplative style of thought. Rather than crafting replies or maneuvering through social subtleties, the mind reverts to its fundamental patterns, tracing softer pathways of contemplation. The exploration of solitude reveals this striking contrast. Researchers depict voluntary solitude as a rejuvenating condition, a realm where the mind can realign, free from the demands of performance or reaction. The prefrontal cortex, which plays a crucial role in planning and emotional regulation, experiences greater freedom to organize memories and impressions when it is not burdened by the rapid demands of conversation. Solitude may not always be a tranquil experience. However, it signifies that the mind engages in a different process, one of slowing down, sorting through thoughts, and unwinding. Even a brief moment of silence can lead to subtle yet significant shifts in how emotions are processed. Another aspect of solitude involves the internal narrative that sharpens as the world around you recedes into the background. The mind effortlessly produces a myriad of thoughts, narratives, contemplations, and fleeting memories, yet these often remain concealed beneath the weight of everyday existence. In solitude, this internal stream finds the space to emerge. Individuals frequently express that their thoughts seem more cohesive or broader in solitude, with neuroscientists associating this phenomenon with heightened activity in networks related to creativity and self-reflection. In this place, men often express feelings of stability and autonomy, whereas women might convey a gentler, more introspective contemplation. Neither superior, merely distinct manifestations of the same subtle change. In this context, solitude emerges not as a void, but as a subtle transformation of perception. The absence of company prompts the mind to turn inward, allowing it to recognize what has been neglected and to give rest to certain systems that operate quietly throughout the day. What seems like emptiness is actually brimming with delicate movement, much of which becomes calming when allowed the time to reveal itself. As one delves deeper into this topic, the science of these quiet moments unveils their inherent nature and supportiveness, illustrating how the mind gracefully adapts to solitude with a slow, unhurried rhythm. As silence envelops the world, a delicate shift occurs within the mind, often slipping by without recognition. Activity patterns start to transition from the quick exchanges that characterize social moments, gradually moving towards more deliberate, introspective rhythms. Among the most recognized systems contributing to this transformation is the inner mind's gentle drift, a collection of linked areas that spring to life when the mind drifts away from external tasks. This narrative weaves together meandering thoughts, tender recollections, and the subtle contemplations that emerge when the outside world fades into the background. Both men and women undergo this transformation, yet the speed and emotional quality of the experience may vary, somewhat according to personal disposition. In the absence of others nearby, the mind lessens its ongoing search for social signals, a mechanism that operates nearly without interruption throughout the day. This scanning encompasses the observation of facial expressions, the monitoring of tone, the interpretation of subtle movements, and the preparation of responses in advance of their necessity. Everything involved requires a significant amount of energy, despite the appearance of ease. In solitude, these systems find their ease. Brain imaging studies reveal a reduction in activity within regions associated with social prediction, while showing heightened activation in areas connected to introspection. There is a transition from being outwardly prepared to engaging in inner reflection, permitting thoughts to unfold at their own pace. As these internal pathways unfold, the mind starts to sift through impressions that had been previously overlooked. Memories can emerge gently, often without apparent cause, while feelings that lacked space to flourish during hectic times may come into focus. This does not inherently indicate that anything is amiss. It is merely the way in which the mind interprets existence once there is ample room to engage with it. Some individuals experience a sense of stability from this more measured tempo, while others might encounter a fleeting weightiness before the mind settles into its inherent rhythm. In moments of solitude, the internal processes emerge with a clarity that is frequently obscured by the complexities of social environments. Physiologically, this transition unfolds with subtle changes in the autonomic nervous system. The increase in heart rate variability may occur as the parasympathetic branch, which is responsible for rest and recovery, becomes more active. Breathing deepens effortlessly, while the small muscles in the face and shoulders unwind as micro-expressions dissolve. Researchers examining tranquil settings observe that the brain's sensory systems expend less energy to sustain awareness, enabling a shift of resources toward rejuvenation. What appears to be stillness is, in truth, a carefully orchestrated rebalancing, gradually revealing itself beneath the surface. The serene transformations create a setting for moments of solitude. Their actions foster an environment conducive to contemplation, gentle creativity, and emotional exploration that allows for a leisurely pace. Solitude transcends the mere lack of companionship. A transformation occurs in the connection between the mind and its surrounding environment. As the pressures ease, the mind finds a softer, more expansive cadence, creating space for both contemplation and emotion to unfold in the stillness. This internal shift serves as an early indication that solitude transcends mere emptiness. It emerges as a nurturing presence, imbued with its own inherent markers of rest and realignment. As silence envelops the surroundings, the senses subtly transform, revealing nuances that often go unnoticed. As external demands diminish, the brain finds itself free from the need to decipher quick flows of visual and auditory stimuli, allowing the entire sensory system to gradually embrace a more tranquil pace. Researchers have noted that when individuals find themselves in solitude, there is a decline in activity within the visual and auditory cortices, indicating a decrease in the ongoing scanning and subtle adjustments the brain engages in during social interactions. Rather than seeking out signals, the senses start to ease, permitting the nervous system to settle into a more tranquil state. This gentle transformation occurs for all individuals, yet the experience varies according to one's personality, background, and emotional patterns. The first sense to quiet is often sight. In solitude, the stillness offers a quieter landscape where movement is scarce and expressions are limited. As the visual system eases from its state of alertness, subtle elements, like shadows on a wall, the texture of a blanket, and the serene stillness of a room, emerge with a gentler significance, free from the distractions of changing social cues. This diminished demand liberates cognitive resources. The occipital regions engaged in processing swift visual stimuli exhibit reduced activation, allowing the mind to wander into gentler, more introspective imagery. For many individuals, this is the reason why solitude can feel akin to entering a softly illuminated room, despite the brightness surrounding it. The brain reduces the intensity of its visual perception. The act of hearing undergoes transformations in a comparable manner. In social settings, the auditory system continuously conveys tone, pitch, nuanced shifts in volume, and the cadence of dialogue. It seeks understanding even prior to the complete articulation of words. In solitude, a significant portion of this burden vanishes. Research indicates that in the absence of speech or movement, the brain tends to prefer consistent, low-frequency sounds. The hum of an appliance, the faint movement of air, or the distant murmur of traffic serves as a backdrop, crafting a soundscape that invites slower breathing and fosters calmer autonomic responses. As the auditory cortex encounters fewer stimuli to interpret, it diminishes its predictive functions, allowing the mind to wander with greater ease. In solitude, touch undergoes transformations, albeit in more nuanced manners. In the absence of the continual shifts in posture and alignment that characterize social interactions, the body finds itself in more relaxed and stable positions. The muscles along the shoulders and jaw start to relax, while the nervous system grows more attuned to gentle sensations, warmth, softness, and textures that often go unnoticed by the mind. Researchers examining interoception, the brain's awareness of internal signals, observe that tranquil settings enhance the ability to perceive changes in breathing, heartbeat, and temperature. This occurs not due to the intensification of these sensations, but rather because the clamor of everyday interactions diminishes sufficiently for them to be grasped effortlessly. The tranquility arising from these sensory adjustments fosters an environment conducive to mental clarity. As the senses cease their relentless interpretation of new information, the emotional and cognitive systems transition into a more measured and contemplative rhythm. One reason many people find solitude to be restorative is its ability to provide a sense of renewal. This leads to a decrease in stimuli, allowing the brain to perceive it as a secure opportunity for self-reorganization. Men frequently articulate this experience as a feeling of grounding or stability, whereas women might express it as a gentle settling or a fleeting moment of inner tranquility. The distinctions are subtle, not definitive, and illustrate tendencies rather than immutable characteristics. In this sensory stillness, the mind starts to release its hold on haste. In the absence of swift stimuli from the outside, the mind is liberated to meander, to explore, and to settle into contemplation without the compulsion to respond. These patterns establish the basis for the soothing influence of solitude, illustrating that being alone represents not a void, but a transformation. A transformation in the way perception and thought influence the surrounding reality. As this softening settles deeper, new rhythms emerge, fostering emotional balance and quiet reflection in ways that only solitude can facilitate. In solitude, emotions take on a unique character. As the world quiets down, the mind detaches from the rapid, changing dynamics of social engagement, allowing deeper emotional processes to emerge and develop in their own time. Researchers examining emotional regulation observe that solitary moments allow the prefrontal cortex to delve deeper into emotions, free from the demands of external stimuli. This fosters a serene environment where feelings can ease, rearrange, and move more freely without disruption. Both men and women navigate this transition, yet men typically engage in private and internal reflection, whereas women frequently seek connection when it is accessible. In solitude, these tendencies converge in a collective stillness, where emotional rhythms find their way into more measured patterns. In social moments, the brain engages in a delicate dance, navigating the expression of emotions while considering their impact on those nearby. This process occurs without manual intervention. It occurs even in informal environments, and even when one feels at ease. Research indicates that the expression of emotions within groups necessitates swift synchronization between the limbic system, responsible for generating feelings, and the regulatory areas of the frontal lobe, which influence the manner in which those feelings are expressed. In solitude, this coordination finds its ease. The frontal regions are freed from the need to craft expressions or oversee reactions, enabling emotional signals to flow more freely within the mind. This decrease in emotional expression allows for a softer, more introspective approach to understanding. Emotions that were kept at a distance throughout the day might surface gently, not as overwhelming tides but as scattered pieces and fleeting thoughts, more manageable to reflect upon without urgency. Brain imaging studies show that solitude enhances activity in networks associated with reflective thinking and autobiographical memory, the serene mental realms where individuals interpret their experiences. This does not compel understanding. Rather, it permits the mind to navigate its own pathways, gently transitioning between recollection and significance. Another aspect of managing emotions in solitude includes the deceleration of physiological reactions. In the absence of social cues to interpret or the mirroring of emotional energy from others, the body instinctively starts to find its equilibrium. The heart rate stabilizes, subtle facial expressions diminish, and the emotional center of the brain responds with reduced sensitivity to perceived pressures. Researchers depict this as a calming of emotional intensity, a natural adjustment that aids the mind in reverting to its normal state following periods of stress. Even mild forms of solitude, short breaks, brief pauses, quiet evenings, can play a significant role in this process, subtly fostering emotional stability. Isolation transforms the manner in which individuals confront their inner struggles. In a quieter environment, the mind has the opportunity to reflect on minor dilemmas or lingering thoughts with a more serene outlook. During quiet reflection, activity in the anterior cingulate cortex, a region associated with evaluating conflict, diminishes. This indicates that the mind perceives problems as less pressing when external noise is absent. This transformation enables feelings to be navigated with greater ease, reshaping what was once intense into something softer and more manageable. While emotional patterns vary from person to person, solitude serves as a common setting for these gentle shifts. Men frequently perceive solitary moments as chances to regain their composure, whereas women might view these instances as opportunities for soft introspection and clarity within. Each viewpoint resonates with the same fundamental reality. In the embrace of solitude, a tranquil space unfolds, allowing emotions to realign in peace, free from disturbance. This does not provide a resolution to any issue, nor does it serve as a remedy. It is merely a reflex of the mind, as silence envelops the world. In this serene moment, emotional regulation shifts from a focus on control to a gentle process of settling. The mind transitions from the rapid cycles of social interaction to the more tranquil streams of self-reflection, allowing emotions to flow, mellow, and transform over time. Solitude transforms into a soothing space for emotional release, a setting where the mind unravels the day's complexities and navigates its path back to balance. In these subtle spaces, the science of being alone unveils one of its most soothing treasures, the gentle renewal of the emotional self. The essence of independence brings a subtle sense of comfort, a feeling that gradually reveals itself in the recesses of thought. As an individual navigates their day at their own pace, deciding when to pause, when to engage, and how to mold each experience, the mind perceives this freedom as a form of inner equilibrium. Research in motivational psychology highlights autonomy as a fundamental aspect that contributes to emotional well-being. This is not due to independence resolving issues, but rather because the ability to direct one's actions alleviates the mental strain imposed by external pressures. In the embrace of solitude, a unique space emerges, one where choices become less overwhelming and the mind is free to wander at its own rhythm, uninterrupted. On a neurological level, the concept of independence subtly engages the brain's reward circuits. When an individual finishes a task at their own pace or engages in simple routines on their own terms, the brain emits soft waves of dopamine linked to intrinsic motivation. In contrast to the intense spikes connected to new experiences or outside approval, the subtle signals foster a consistent feeling of mastery and authority. Researchers examining inner drive and choice harmony have discovered that individuals encounter this type of reward, even in ordinary instances, such as organizing a room, preparing a meal, or setting their own schedule. The brain interprets these actions as signs of competence, and such competence brings a sense of tranquility to the mind. Men and women navigate these rewards via distinct emotional pathways. Independence is frequently seen by men as a means of establishing personal stability, a reflection of their capacity to traverse life's challenges without dependence on others. This does not imply a lack of appreciation for connection. Instead, solitude provides them the space to steady their inner direction. Women, in contrast, might experience independence as a subtle definition of boundaries or a fleeting moment of personal space amid broader social dynamics. Each interpretation mirrors the same biological principle. Independence diminishes emotional tension and fosters a more seamless stream of ideas. This subtle cycle of reward shapes the way the mind navigates obstacles, As the brain acknowledges an individual's ability to act freely within their surroundings, the reactions to stress diminish in intensity. The prefrontal cortex, which plays a crucial role in planning, evaluation, and decision-making, operates with greater efficiency when choices are perceived as self-guided instead of being imposed. Research on cognitive flexibility reveals that having autonomy enhances the brain's capacity to change perspectives, thereby lightening the burden of challenging tasks. Independence does not eliminate challenges. Rather, it transforms the mindset with which those challenges are faced. As time passes, these seemingly insignificant instances of self-initiated action build up, creating a broader feeling of inner stability. Individuals who dedicate consistent moments to solitude frequently convey a gentle assurance that emerges subtly, without the need for proclamation. They navigate their routines with a sense of ownership, experiencing a slower pace and a deeper connection to their own rhythms. It is observed that this gentle confidence arises not from the pursuit of lofty ambitions, but from the steady practice of self-regulation, where one navigates their thoughts, environment, and time independently of outside influences. It embodies a quiet assurance, developed gradually and without fanfare. Even the most straightforward decisions echo this trend. As one contemplates the structure of their evening, the preferred environment, and the desired pace of the night, the mind interprets these choices as expressions of individual autonomy. The agency, in its essence, plays a crucial role in regulating emotional responses, fostering a seamless connection between intention and action. The journey of independence unfolds as a subtle conversation between the mind and its environment, affirming the ability to steer one's own life, even through the simplest, everyday actions. In solitude, the reward circuits function quietly, free from distraction. One need not conform to another's rhythm or bend to their anticipations. The mind finds its own shape, discovering comfort in the consistent flow of self-directed experiences. Independence emerges as a practical condition and an emotional space, providing a serene presence that quietly asserts itself without the need for grand declarations. It merely exists, influencing the mind with subtle cues that affirm one's capability, steadiness, and the ability to navigate the world at a personal, tranquil rhythm. The mind bears stress silently, frequently lingering long after the triggering moment has faded away. Throughout the day, the nervous system transitions back and forth between various states of alertness, responsibility, and quiet vigilance, adapting to the rhythms and expectations of the surrounding world. As one finally steps into solitude, the patterns begin to loosen. Researchers studying the body's stress response describe solitude as a natural opportunity for recalibration, a moment when the sympathetic nervous system, the part responsible for fight or flight, can begin yielding to the parasympathetic system, which supports rest and recovery. This transformation unfolds gradually over time. The narrative reveals itself gently as the outside world fades into a hushed stillness. Cortisol, a hormone that aids the body in responding to challenges, stands out as one of the most evident physiological indicators of changing stress levels. Cortisol experiences a natural increase during hectic periods and slowly diminishes as the mind perceives a reduction in demands. In solitude, this decline becomes increasingly evident. Research indicates that calm surroundings reduce cortisol levels more efficiently than settings filled with erratic sounds, even if an individual is not consciously aware of experiencing stress. The body perceives stillness as a sanctuary, and within this sanctuary, stress hormones can find a more gentle repose. The nervous system reacts to solitude in various other manners too. When a person enters a calm environment, the heart's ability to adapt to various states, measured by heart rate variability, shows an increase. Greater variability frequently correlates with resilience, emotional regulation, and a more effective capacity to bounce back from stress. Solitude enhances these patterns by eliminating the necessity to foresee others' responses. In the absence of the continual micro-adjustments demanded by social environments, the autonomic nervous system finds the opportunity to self-regulate at a more profound level. Individuals of different genders frequently articulate this transformation in distinct ways, even as the underlying physiology remains the same. Men often experience a feeling of relief when they find themselves alone, akin to a gradual release of pressure rather than an abrupt escape. Women might express a similar sentiment, yet they do so with a language that evokes a gentle unwinding, as if their inner rhythm shifts to a more organic tempo. No single viewpoint holds complete truth. Their observations reveal the unique ways individuals perceive the subtle adjustments of the body. What holds significance is that the fundamental processes are shared across the board. The mind finds its calm, the body eases into tranquility, and stress loosens its grip. Another aspect of solitude's effect on stress pertains to cognitive load. Throughout the day, the mind orchestrates a multitude of tasks all at once, anticipating future needs, interpreting social signals, addressing challenges, managing obligations. Even the lightest of obligations can create a mental burden that gradually increases with the passage of time. In solitude, this burden becomes easier to bear. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for planning and decision-making, experiences less strain when there are fewer variables to monitor. This enables it to operate with greater efficiency while consuming less energy, a subtle yet profoundly rejuvenating form of cognitive relief that frequently escapes notice. The lack of external pressure alters the dynamics of emotions when faced with stress. Social environments have the potential to heighten stress responses, often igniting feelings of comparison, performance, pressure, or underlying interpersonal tension. In solitude, these triggers diminish. In quiet settings, the amygdala, a region responsible for processing threats, exhibits reduced reactivity, particularly when there is no necessity to interpret facial expressions or tone. This doesn't completely eliminate stress, but it aids in preventing its reinforcement, allowing the mind an opportunity to ease around the corners of lingering tension. In this context, solitude serves as an inherent shield. It provides an environment where the nervous system can relax without distractions, allowing thoughts to decelerate so the mind can acknowledge its own rhythm. While stress may not vanish in an instant, it transforms into something more manageable, softened by the stillness that surrounds it. The body interprets the stillness as an invitation to heal, and thus, the healing process unfolds through subtle, nearly undetectable movements. Breathing slows, rhythm steadies, shoulders and jaw begin to relax. In these subtle ways, solitude emerges as a quiet companion in alleviating stress. It is neither a remedy nor a prescription. Rather, it is a state that the mind instinctively understands how to navigate, woven into its biological rhythms. As one takes a moment to step away from the day's hustle, the nervous system reacts to the stillness with a sense of relief, guiding the body gently back toward a state of equilibrium. This represents one of the most straightforward and gentle realities of solitude. The stillness allows the mind to rediscover the rhythm of breath. As solitude envelops you, the mind embarks on a unique journey, one that is serene, unhurried, and largely unseen. A significant part of this transformation relates to memory, a process that unfolds continuously throughout the day, yet becomes more distinct as the world quiets down. Researchers examining consolidation, the phase in which the brain organizes and stabilizes memories, have discovered that low-stimulus environments foster deeper integration. In the absence of a steady influx of new information, the hippocampus engages in the sorting of recent experiences, fortifying specific neural pathways while permitting others to diminish. This unfolds effortlessly and without purpose. It unfolds organically, molded by the gentle pace that emerges in solitude. Memory transcends mere storage. It embodies interpretation. The mind reflects on the day's moments, recalibrating emotional significance and weaving connections between experiences. In solitude, the interpretive process flows with greater ease. The inner mind's gentle drift, responsible for internal narration and autobiographical thought, shows increased activation as external demands lessen. This allows the mind to drift through various times and locations, assembling links that may have been missed during more hectic moments. Individuals frequently characterize this as the unexpected insight that emerges in the stillness of the night, or the subtle acknowledgement of something that had previously gone unnoticed. Neurologically, it is the brain reflecting on and reinterpreting its own narrative. In moments of solitude, the depth of reflective thinking is enhanced. Research utilizing brain imaging reveals heightened activity in areas associated with self-assessment and gentle reflection when an individual finds themselves in solitude. These areas contribute to understanding individual values, future aspirations, and the significance of daily occurrences. In the quiet embrace of solitude, the surrounding silence creates a space where reflections can emerge, unchallenged by competing distractions. For men, this often evokes a sense of grounding, allowing them to contemplate matters without disruption. For women, it can seem like a moment of emotional clarity, a gentle settling where feelings and thoughts come together with greater ease. Both experiences arise from a similar cognitive transformation, where the mind acquires the necessary space to listen to its own voice. A further dimension of solitude's impact on memory pertains to the process of emotional sorting. Throughout the day, the amygdala reacts swiftly to minor stresses and emotional signals, occasionally retaining these cues long after the initial moment has faded. In solitude, the amygdala's reactivity diminishes, granting the prefrontal cortex the opportunity to reassess emotional impressions with a more tranquil outlook. This gentle reprocessing alleviates the weight of unresolved emotions, allowing for a more manageable experience. Research indicates that tranquil settings facilitate this transition by reducing background noise, encompassing not only auditory disturbances, but also emotional distractions. Even daydreaming contributes to the narrative. In moments when the mind is free from the demands of external dialogues or responsibilities, the occurrence of spontaneous imagery and meandering thoughts increases significantly. Rather than serving as a mere distraction, daydreaming is associated with enhanced problem-solving abilities, heightened creativity, and improved emotional regulation. The brain navigates these drifting states to explore possibilities, reflect on tender memories, and experiment with new mental frameworks. In solitude, where interruptions are scarce, the mental wanderings can stretch out, permitting the mind to delve into its own contours with gentle curiosity. The outcome of these processes manifests as a sense of internal orderliness. Thoughts that were once intertwined start to untangle and reorganize, not by force, but through the inherent patterns of the mind. Memories find their rightful spot. Lingering feelings ease, and thoughts begin to form in the recesses of the mind. Isolation does not bring about understanding. It naturally fosters an environment in which clarity can emerge independently. This is why quiet moments frequently carry a deeper significance than they initially appear. The mind weaves them into the next chapter of one's internal narrative. In these ways, solitude quietly nurtures memory and reflection, embodying a grace that seldom seeks the spotlight. The stillness transforms into a nurturing space for contemplation, where moments are gathered, examined, and comprehended in a rhythm that resonates with humanity. As the day's clamor fades into silence, the mind persistently engages in its subtle craft, molding the delicate structure of your evolving self, moment by unhurried moment. Creativity shares a subtle bond with solitude, revealing itself most effortlessly when the mind is allowed to roam freely. In social hours, the focus shifts outward, engaging with conversations, fulfilling responsibilities, and navigating the nuanced pressures of coordination. In solitude, the outward focus begins to ease. the mind transitions into a more interconnected state, where ideas flow in wider, more gradual patterns. Neuroscientists examining creative cognition have discovered that this transition engages networks that facilitate mind's free-flowing connections, enabling the generation of novel ideas by connecting concepts that typically do not coexist. In solitude, the environment is ripe for connections to blossom without disruption, fostering a gentle emergence of creativity in the background. At the heart of this process lies the inner mind's gentle drift, a group of brain regions that come alive during moments of daydreaming, introspection, and creative thought. As external demands diminish, this network emerges more clearly, facilitating mental simulations and serene exploration. Individuals frequently encounter this as an unforeseen notion emerging in solitude or a soft awareness that arises in a tranquil moment. The brain does not impose creativity. It permits extended, uninterrupted streams of contemplation to form into fresh configurations. Even simple activities, such as tidying a room or sitting in silence, can generate sufficient cognitive space for this internal spark to emerge. An additional aspect of solitude's impact on creativity pertains to cognitive flexibility, which refers to the mind's capacity to shift between various perspectives or frameworks. Research indicates that when individuals are not bound by the pace or expectations of others, the prefrontal cortex is liberated to explore alternatives and reinterpret information. This mental freedom fosters insight, those subtle moments of realization that come unexpectedly. Men frequently articulate the experience of creativity in solitude as a slow honing of their viewpoint, whereas women might perceive it as a tender unfolding or a gentle expansion of opportunities. Both experiences reveal the same fundamental neurological mechanisms at play. Solitude diminishes cognitive interference, clearing away the mental clutter caused by competing thoughts and external distractions. In tranquil settings, the mind encounters fewer sensory distractions, enabling working memory to retain information with greater clarity. This clarity fosters the development of fresh connections among ideas, serving as a cornerstone of imaginative thinking. The lack of social scrutiny, with no observers to judge or anticipate, fosters a spirit of exploration and innovation. Research in the realm of creativity indicates that individuals tend to delve into unconventional ideas when they find themselves alone, as the absence of external pressure to conform or justify their thoughts allows for greater exploration. The emotional terrain of solitude also holds significance. Creative thinking frequently relies on the capacity to embrace ambiguity, uncertainty, or nascent ideas. The tranquility of solitude serves as a serene setting for these experiences. In the absence of rapid social exchanges, emotions find a steadier cadence, fostering a space for creativity to flourish. The nervous system exhibits a diminished reactivity, permitting ideas to develop slowly rather than being hurried into clarity. This explains why numerous individuals recount their most significant thoughts emerging during serene strolls, tranquil nights, or instances when they experienced a brief detachment from the surrounding world. Even daydreaming holds a certain creative significance. As the mind wanders, crafting tiny narratives or envisioning disconnected images, it engages in a rehearsal of potential futures, delving into hypotheticals or experimenting with fresh emotional frameworks. These drifting states engage brain regions associated with prediction and problem-solving, enabling creativity to function subtly beneath the surface. The solitude stretches these moments of daydreaming, allowing them ample opportunity to flourish into profound insights. Researchers perceive this as a method of creating psychological space, a subtle broadening that enables the mind to contemplate not only the immediate next step, but also entirely new pathways. In these tranquil instances, the essence of creativity shifts from mere exertion to the influence of surroundings. In the quiet embrace of solitude, ideas find the space to gather, intertwine, and evolve in their own time. The mind revels in the quietude, the unhurried pace, and the soft expansiveness that solitude provides. In these hours, creativity unfolds gently, not with force, but with nuance, revealing fresh perspectives on the world and deeper insights into oneself. In the stillness, a spark emerges, shedding light on overlooked corners of thought, crafted solely by the act of solitude. Identity forms in various settings, yet it is in isolation that the mind finds a unique chance to comprehend itself without distraction. Throughout the day, an individual navigates a series of evolving roles: friend, co-worker, partner, parent, stranger, each demanding nuanced adjustments from the mind. These shifts occur naturally, yet they generate a form of internal noise that renders self-perception more fluid and less defined. In solitude, the noise subsides. Cognitive psychologists depict identity not as a static entity, but as an evolving narrative that the brain weaves together throughout the passage of time. As external pressures diminish, the mind finds greater space to contemplate this tale, refining its contours and uncovering fragments that had been overlooked in the hustle of busier times. Among the crucial systems engaged in this process is the medial prefrontal cortex, a region that comes to life when individuals reflect on themselves, their preferences, and their values. Research indicates that this region becomes particularly engaged during moments of calm introspection, when the mind is free from external demands. In the quiet of solitude, an emotional and cognitive space emerges, allowing for self-referential processing to develop, free from any distractions. Men frequently find this to be a source of stability, a way to realign their identities beyond societal pressures. Women may perceive it as a sense of clarity, a soft contour emerging around their inner landscape. The nuances present are gentle inclinations, molded by experience, instead of being fixed certainties. A further aspect of shaping one's identity encompasses the acknowledgement of what genuinely holds significance for you. The principles, priorities, enduring aspirations, and the subtle inner guide that directs everyday decisions. Social environments can obscure these signals, not due to pressure, but rather because of the sheer number of interactions that demand continuous adjustment. In solitude, the mind encounters fewer external prompts, allowing internal signals to emerge with greater clarity. Research in inner drive and choice harmony reveals that autonomy enhances an individual's capacity to recognize their own preferences. Solitude aids in this process by sifting through the nuanced expectations that often build up through interactions, obligations, and daily patterns. Memory plays a significant role in these moments of identity. In moments of stillness, the hippocampus draws upon past experiences, weaving them into the fabric of your inner narrative. Instances of achievement, challenge, transformation, and insight. These memories emerge into consciousness, not as straightforward narratives, but as impressions that assist the mind in understanding your past self and your evolving identity. In solitude, these impressions are processed free from distraction. As time passes, this fosters a sense of continuity, instilling the impression that one's life possesses an overarching narrative, rather than merely a collection of isolated instances. Identity is formed not just by what emerges in solitude, but also by what is left behind. In the absence of the unspoken comparisons that social environments frequently create, the mind is able to assess itself with greater kindness. Researchers examining social influence observe that individuals often unconsciously modify their behavior to conform to the group in ways that may go unnoticed. In solitude, these modifications come to a halt. The brain has ceased to reflect the emotional tone of those around it, and it no longer responds to the nuanced signals of approval or disapproval. In this tranquil setting, individuals frequently unearth long-forgotten preferences, from the arrangement of their surroundings to deeper insights about what truly brings them joy. This gentle return to the self is also mirrored in the way emotions are processed. In solitude, the mind encounters fewer external emotions, allowing for a clearer distinction between personal feelings and the surrounding influences. This distinction fosters emotional clarity, allowing for a more straightforward identification and comprehension of specific feelings. As time passes, these subtle insights build up, providing an individual with a more defined understanding of their needs, values, and the manner in which they wish to navigate life. In solitude, identity transforms from a facade crafted for the outside world into a subtle essence shaped from the depths of one's being. The mind possesses the liberty to attune itself to its own rhythms, to recall, to reassess, and to merely observe what has always been there. In these quiet moments, individuals frequently discover a deeper connection to their true selves. It is not that solitude delivers answers. Rather, it creates the necessary silence to listen to the soft voice that lies beneath the noise of everyday existence. In this gentle state, identity transforms into an experience rather than a display, revealing itself organically in the serene moments where the external world recedes and the inner self can emerge, free from haste and scrutiny. Long before solitude emerged as a contemporary experience, defined by tranquil spaces and contemplative nights, it was a fundamental aspect of human evolution. In the early days, humans navigated through landscapes where the ebb and flow of unity and solitude were not just frequent, but vital to their existence. Anthropologists, examining ancestral patterns, observe that prolonged solitude played a role in food gathering, terrain scouting, tool preparation, and navigating unknown landscapes. In those solitary moments, the mind was compelled to cultivate methods for maintaining calmness, attentiveness, and resilience in the absence of others. As a result, the human brain developed mechanisms that respond softly to solitude, perceiving it not as a danger, but as a natural condition intricately linked to everyday existence. Research into hunter-gatherer societies shows that individuals often spent hours or even days working independently while still belonging to a group. Solitude was not isolation. It was simply one part of the broader rhythm of life. This distinction holds significance as the contemporary intellect continues to bear the remnants of these patterns. The nervous system is inherently equipped to manage time spent in solitude, and the restorative benefits individuals experience during these moments are echoes of long-standing adaptive processes. The capacity to immerse oneself in personal reflections, to silently take in the surroundings, and to arrive at conclusions independently of social influences has origins that trace back through countless generations. Individuals of both genders traversed these solitary moments in distinct ways, influenced by their positions within early societies. Men frequently journeyed across vast distances for hunting or scouting, cultivating a cognitive approach that harmonized alertness with independence. This pattern might explain why numerous men in contemporary society characterize solitude as a source of grounding or stability. The mind resonates with a timeless cadence of self-reliance. Women, who often transitioned between shared responsibilities and moments of serene nurturing or collection, cultivated a unique bond with solitude, characterized not by separation, but by soft contemplation. These tendencies serve not as rules, but rather as delicate evolutionary traces, quietly shaping the experience of solitude in the present moment. Even the attentional systems of the brain reflect remnants of these ancient patterns. In early environments, moments of solitude called for a serene observation, where one could discern changes in the landscape, catch the sound of distant movement, or interpret the delicate shifts in wind or light. In solitude, those same systems gently transition into more tranquil states. Rather than seeking out social signals or adjusting to emotional nuances, the mind shifts back to a state that prioritizes careful, intentional mindfulness. This change is one reason that calm surroundings seem to have a greater sense of openness. The mind is returning to a state crafted for careful observation instead of swift engagement. It is probable that emotional processing developed through comparable cycles. Early humans encountered stress in distinct ways, influenced by their surroundings, whether they were among their group or traversing the wilderness alone. In solitude, the body found a way to balance itself, saving energy while keeping a watchful eye on its surroundings for safety. This equilibrium crafted systems that assist the contemporary nervous system in calming down as external pressures diminish. The parasympathetic system, which facilitates rest and recovery, instinctively reacts to the lack of social pressure. What appears to be tranquility today could merely be the revival of a long-standing biological pathway. This evolutionary viewpoint sheds light on why solitude may seem inherently natural and even soothing, in contrast to cultural stories that frequently depict it as something out of the ordinary. The mind was not designed to thrive in a perpetual crowd. It transformed through variation, navigating the space between connection and stillness, between collective experiences and solitary ones. The contemporary landscape, filled with relentless distractions and perpetual connectivity, often veils this reality. Yet, the body retains its memories. The mind retains its memories. Solitude awakens ancient patterns, providing a connection to a rhythm that resonates with a profound aspect of human history. In these ways, solitude remains an integral part of human nature. However, a return to it. In the depths of solitude, there exists a timeless connection, a whisper of past realms, where silence was not void, but vital. As you find yourself in quiet contemplation today, allowing your thoughts to flow freely, you are not distancing yourself from the essence of life. One finds oneself entering a pattern that has influenced thoughts and perceptions long before their existence. Solitude transforms into a tender link to the past, a subtle resonance of the lives that preceded us, and a reminder that stillness has always been an integral aspect of the human experience. Solitude affects all, yet the manner in which it permeates the mind can vary subtly from one individual to another. Men and women share comparable biological underpinnings, yet nuanced differences in hormones, emotional responses, and societal norms shape unique experiences of solitude. These differences do not serve as rules or boundaries. These are subtle inclinations that emerge in numerous studies, intricately interlaced within the delicate tapestry of human psychology. In solitude, these patterns emerge more clearly, as the mind finds the space to reveal its inherent rhythms without disruption. The body's chemistry serves as one of the most evident influences on solitude. In men, testosterone and vasopressin play significant roles in fostering emotional independence and promoting self-regulation during moments of tranquility. The hormones influence the brain's interpretation of both challenge and calm, crafting an internal landscape that frequently favors self-reliance. Men often depict solitude as a grounding experience, a moment to reconnect with an inner equilibrium where thoughts can develop freely, unencumbered by external demands. This phenomenon arises not from a lack of appreciation for connection among men, but rather from the way their nervous systems interpret independence as a signal for clarity instead of separation. Women, shaped by elevated levels of oxytocin and estrogen, might perceive solitude in a more interconnected way. Oxytocin, known for its role in fostering social connections and emotional resonance, continues to exert its influence even in moments of solitude. Solitude can evoke a sense of reflection, tenderness, or introspection, as the mind softly revisits subtle emotional nuances that may have been missed throughout the day. Rather than finding strength in independence, numerous women portray solitude as a gentle realm where the delicate strands of their emotions become more accessible to explore. These patterns may not be universal, yet they emerge frequently enough to create a subtle, observational trend. Societal norms introduce an additional dimension to these distinctions. Men frequently find themselves urged to handle their emotions in solitude, cultivating personal methods to manage stress, uncertainty, or significant choices. In moments of solitude, the internal strategies can be heightened, allowing the mind to explore possibilities and establish a sense of stability free from outside interference. Women, who have often been guided to seek connection and express their emotions, might find solitude to be a stark contrast, a momentary break from their relational roles that allows for introspective reflection. In the quiet moments, individuals of all genders confront elements of their identities that the hustle of everyday life often obscures. Neurological studies reveal these tendencies in nuanced ways. In moments of solitude, the brain areas linked to planning, spatial reasoning, and internal problem-solving show increased activity, indicating a tendency towards structure and organization. Women frequently exhibit heightened activity in areas associated with emotional contemplation and memory synthesis, suggesting a propensity to reflect on experiences through a gentler, more storytelling lens. The patterns intertwine more than they separate, yet the subtle distinctions illuminate why solitude may provide a sense of grounding for one individual while offering clarity to another. Even with these differences, the experience of solitude is something that unites us all as humans. Quiet environments serve as a sanctuary for the mind, allowing it to restore balance, transcending the boundaries of gender. The tension eases, imagination flourishes, recollections solidify, and emotional tempos decelerate. The distinctions are found not in the advantages themselves, but in the routes the mind navigates to attain them. Men may enter solitude like stepping into a tranquil clearing, untouched by noise. Women may step into it as if entering a serene sanctuary, where thoughts find their rightful order with ease. Each route converges at a singular point of tranquility, allowing the essence to find respite. In this manner, solitude transforms into a connection instead of a separation. It uncovers the nuanced uniqueness in the ways individuals perceive, experience, and interpret their surroundings, all the while highlighting that beneath the exterior there exists a shared foundation among all. The stillness reveals these forms with clarity. Solitude can manifest in various forms: grounding or clarity, strength or softness, reflection or stillness. It provides a universal support that respects both individuality and commonality, creating an environment where the quiet truth is acknowledged. Every mind deserves the space to develop at its own rhythm. Social interaction possesses a unique energy that transcends the physical realm, resonating within the mind as distinctly as the body perceives warmth or chill. Psychologists often refer to this phenomenon as social load, encompassing the entire cognitive effort needed to interpret expressions, engage in conversations, modulate tone, observe emotional cues, and align with the rhythm of others. These processes unfold seamlessly, frequently beyond our conscious recognition, yet they draw upon genuine mental resources. As one enters solitude, the weight they carry begins to lift almost instantly. The focus transitions from external interactions to a state of inner stillness, allowing the energy previously spent on social dynamics to find its calm. Exploration of cognitive resource theory sheds light on this phenomenon. The brain possesses a finite amount of attentional bandwidth, and social settings significantly deplete that resource. Even enjoyable exchanges demand the interpretation of nuanced cues, the anticipation of reactions, and the management of minor ambiguities. In solitude, these demands dissipate. Neuroscientists observing brain activity during moments of solitude find diminished activation in areas linked to social prediction, while areas associated with internal reflection show heightened activity. The brain shifts its energy, transitioning from active interpretation to a more gentle processing, akin to a river that flows back into itself after reaching out to the world throughout the day. For many men, this decrease in social burden brings a sense of stability. Men frequently characterize social settings as spaces where they are anticipated to maintain a sense of composure, responsiveness, or attentiveness in subtle manners, even in the absence of any overt expectations placed upon them. Isolation dispels this implicit demand. The mind is freed from the necessity of sustaining delicate posture, monitoring peripheral signals, or modulating emotional tone. The energy that once flowed outward among these micro-demands now converges inward, fostering a profound sense of grounded stillness. women might experience a sense of relief as emotional openness, allowing their thoughts to wander freely, unburdened by the need to monitor others' emotions or uphold the flow of conversation. Both experiences illustrate a transformation in the way attention is allocated by the brain. The dynamics of social energy also encompass the limbic system, a collection of structures that play a crucial role in regulating emotions. In the presence of others, this system reacts to emotional cues, occasionally taking intention or reflecting nuanced feelings. In solitude, the signals cease to come. The limbic system calms, slowing its swift assessments. Solitude takes on a serene quality, not due to the absence of emotions, but rather because the emotional echoes from the surroundings begin to soften. Research indicates that individuals frequently misjudge the amount of emotional energy they invest merely by being in the presence of others, even in neutral environments. Solitude unveils this void by providing contrast, a moment when emotional input diminishes sufficiently for the mind to regain its balance. The influence of cognitive fatigue is also significant. The social landscape demands that the mind navigates swiftly through various subjects, viewpoints, and small choices. Every transition comes with a minor mental toll, and these tolls build up as the day progresses. In solitude, the mind finds liberation from the constant toggling of thoughts. The focus of attention can linger on a single thought for extended durations, or it may wander freely without the necessity of grounding itself in any particular idea. One reason quiet evenings seem to stretch endlessly. The brain has ceased its effort to compress time in order to align with the pace of social movement. Rather, it embraces a more measured pace, permitting energy to find its equilibrium instead of dispersing. Environmental unpredictability plays a significant role too. In social settings, there are factors that the brain cannot completely manage. The narrative unfolds with a dynamic interplay of tone and mood, marked by unexpected interruptions and shifting expectations. When considered in isolation, these variables diminish considerably. The nervous system perceives this stability and adjusts its stress responses in response. The heart rate stabilizes, breaths become deeper, and the body perceives the surroundings as secure enough to lower its guard. What may seem like relaxation is frequently the brain disengaging from its ongoing low-level prediction mode, preserving energy that had been subtly depleted over the course of the day. In these subtle ways, solitude serves as a gentle rejuvenation. It does not eliminate the necessity for human connection, nor does it imply that social interactions are detrimental. Instead, it emphasizes the subtle dynamics of how the mind harnesses its energy, broadening during engagement, narrowing in moments of stillness, and discovering equilibrium in the interplay between the two. In solitude, a space emerges for energy to find its way back to its origin, allowing the mind to take a break from deciphering the complexities of the world. Here, the stillness transforms into a form of sustenance, providing relief after extended periods of involvement. In this gentle adjustment, the advantages of solitude emerge not from seclusion, but from the quiet relief of the burdens that the mind bears silently each day. The attention system in the brain is a fragile construct, perpetually influenced, extended, and reformed by the pressures of daily life. Each conversation, each decision, and every subtle change in your environment calls for the attentional networks to make slight adjustments. As time passes, a subtle fatigue emerges, often unnoticed, a silent tension that lingers just below the surface. In moments of solitude, the mind encounters a unique chance to recalibrate its systems. As external input diminishes, the networks that govern focus, inhibition, and mental switching start to ease, permitting attention to flow into gentler rhythms that are less disjointed and more organically timed. Researchers examining mind-soft replenishment describe this phenomenon as cognitive replenishment. Within social settings, the prefrontal cortex persistently guides focus away from distractions and towards the primary objective. This endeavor unfolds quietly, yet persistently, As one steps into solitude, the distractions diminish, allowing the prefrontal cortex to function with greater ease and efficiency. Brain imaging reveals that in tranquil settings, the activity in regions responsible for regulating attention diminishes, whereas the inner mind's gentle drift becomes more active, indicating a transition of the mind from focused control to a more relaxed, drifting state. This shift fosters mental clarity and aids the brain in recuperating from the day's heaviness. A further aspect of this attentional reset arises from minimizing task switching. In social contexts, attention shifts swiftly as one interprets tone, observes emotional cues, modifies behavior, and strategizes responses. These micro-switches require significant cognitive effort. In solitude, the mind is free from the need to navigate these competing demands. The mind finds its balance, allowing focus to settle more completely on one thought or sensation. Quiet evenings often seem to stretch out, creating a sense of slowness or expansiveness. The mind experiences extended periods of continuous awareness instead of perpetually transitioning between disjointed fragments. Both men and women undergo this alleviation of attentional pressure, yet their descriptions of the experience may vary. Men might find solitude to be a moment when the mental noise dissipates, enabling their thoughts to align in a more structured manner. Women might depict it as a gentle calming of the mind, where emotional and cognitive threads cease their struggle for attention. These descriptions illustrate variations in personal experience, rather than in cognitive capacity. The fundamental processes remain unchanged. Solitude diminishes the need for engagement, and this diminished need grants the mind a chance to find respite. The nervous system perceives this decrease in cognitive load as a signal of safety. As the number of variables requiring attention diminishes, the brain's internal alarm systems quiet down. The amygdala calms, the hypothalamus diminishes stress signals, and the parasympathetic system enhances its impact. This change in autonomic balance facilitates a smoother reset of attention, as the brain is freed from the need to prepare for immediate reactions. In this tranquility, the mind opens up to tender insights, gentle reflections, and the kind of wandering thoughts that foster emotional healing. The role of environmental predictability is also significant in this process. In solitude, the surroundings take on a greater sense of stability. Less jarring noise, less disruption, less unexpected engagement. The ability to anticipate outcomes enables the brain to manage its resources with greater efficiency, fostering a feeling of openness within the mind. The absence of swift sensory shifts allows attention to expand, enabling the mind to delve into internal realms that had been obscured by the day's clamor. Ideas that were once vague may crystallize into clarity, or they may fade into the gentle haze of contemplation. Both outcomes are integral to the natural rhythm of attentional reset. In solitude, attention transforms from a mere tool into a soft, encompassing awareness. It moves from protecting the boundaries of experience to fully embracing its core. The mind starts to take in its surroundings instead of controlling them, allowing itself to wander instead of steering the course. This alteration is subtle, it is gentle, revealing itself gradually as the nervous system acknowledges that the pressures have diminished. The stillness transforms into a realm where awareness can realign, re-establishing the fragile equilibrium between concentration and receptivity that nurtures mental health. In these moments, the mind reclaims its natural rhythm, discovering steadiness not through effort, but through the gentle embrace of stillness. In solitude, routines acquire a distinct essence. In the absence of fluctuating schedules or the demands of others, the uncomplicated rhythms of everyday existence start to reveal themselves at a more deliberate, intimate pace. Psychologists examining self-regulation observe that consistent habits lessen cognitive load, allowing the mind to navigate fewer decisions during the day. In solitude, habits take root more profoundly, forming a subtle framework that upholds emotional and mental equilibrium. The act of preparing a meal, tidying a space, or arranging an evening routine weaves a thread of continuity that the mind perceives as stability. A significant portion of this comfort stems from the manner in which the prefrontal cortex reacts to established routines. This area plays a crucial role in orchestrating behavior across time, assessing actions, and molding enduring patterns. When routines arise from personal initiative, instead of being dictated by external forces, the prefrontal cortex functions with greater harmony and diminished distractions. Researchers have noted that when individuals have the freedom to create their own routines, it fosters a deeper sense of intrinsic motivation, a subtle drive that arises from within rather than being imposed by external forces. Solitude amplifies this effect by removing distractions, enabling each action to forge a clear, uninterrupted line of thought. Men frequently articulate how the solace of routines in solitude provides a sense of structure, a means of anchoring themselves through simple, well-known actions. Women might find routines to be instances of emotional pacing, transforming tasks into chances to pause and take a breath. While these descriptions vary in tone, they nonetheless share the same neurological foundations. The mind finds tranquility when actions follow a familiar pattern. When events unfold in a predictable manner, the mental burden of anticipating what comes next is alleviated. This allows the mind to transition from reactive responses to a state of calm and intentionality. The body reacts to routine in comparable manners. Biological systems flourish through patterns, where predictable behavior plays a crucial role in regulating circadian rhythms, hormone cycles, and metabolic processes. Research indicates that individuals who maintain consistent routines tend to exhibit more stable mood patterns and enhanced cognitive performance. In solitude, these routines unfold seamlessly, adhering to the person's internal clock without any need for negotiation or interruption. Engaging in activities like eating, resting, or unwinding at moments that resonate with your inner sense, rather than adhering to external schedules, allows the nervous system to perceive this harmony as a source of comfort. Self-paced environments foster a significant psychological process, allowing for the gradual release of tension that builds up over the course of the day. In social settings, the pace of interaction subtly influences one's internal rhythm, often without conscious awareness. Dialogue demands swift replies. Assignments come with time constraints, and habits adjust to communal environments and collective necessities. In solitude, the mind finds its own rhythm. The lack of competing rhythms enables thoughts to fully develop at their own pace, and this gradual revelation provides the mind with a fluidity that is hard to attain in more hectic settings. Cognitive scientists describe this phenomenon as freedom to shape time, which is the capacity to regulate the tempo of time within one's own existence. The influence of freedom to shape time extends to stress reduction, emotional regulation, and enhances problem-solving abilities. When an individual decides when to pause, when to continue, or when to shift tasks, the mind transforms into a state of reflection rather than mere reaction. This sheds light on the reason quiet evenings frequently hold deeper significance than they may seem at first glance. The mind flows with a rhythm that aligns with its own desires, rather than the expectations of the world outside. In solitude, routines shift from a focus on productivity to an exploration of texture. They shape the hours, not through mere occupation, but by crafting gentle anchors, small instances where the mind finds itself in motion rather than entangled in thought. These anchors offer solace not due to their achievements, but because they establish a soothing cadence that the nervous system learns to rely on. As time passes, this rhythm evolves into a form of companionship, a constant presence that bolsters the mind as it meanders through reflection, rest, and serene awareness. Through these small, predictable motions, solitude unveils one of its most subtle strengths, the capacity to allow life to unfold at a human pace. As routines unfold, a gentle awareness emerges, allowing the mind to embrace the tranquility of anticipation. Within this realm, the world appears more tranquil, less pressing, and significantly more in harmony with the subtle realities that influence one's inner existence. In solitude, a softness emerges, transforming the ordinary flow of daily routines into a gentle wellspring of comfort. A quiet steadiness begins to emerge when one spends time alone, a gradual settling that allows emotions to unfold at their own pace. In solitude, the mind diverges from the rapid exchanges that define social settings and increasingly relies on its internal regulatory mechanisms. Among the most significant is the prefrontal cortex, which facilitates emotional regulation and the capacity for long-term planning. In the absence of external distractions vying for focus, this area functions with greater clarity, enabling emotions to be navigated in more gradual, soothing rhythms. The nervous system perceives this as a sense of stability, leading to a gentle easing of the rhythms of experience. Researchers examining emotional regulation observe that solitude diminishes the occurrence of reactive responses, as there are fewer external triggers to provoke them. When in solitude, the amygdala, the area responsible for recognizing emotional significance, experiences a decrease in incoming stimuli. This inherently reduces the quantity of signals that necessitate swift understanding. As the emotional noise begins to fade, the prefrontal cortex asserts its influence, steering the mind towards more stable patterns. This internal rebalancing reveals one of the understated advantages of immersing oneself in tranquil surroundings, allowing for the experience of emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. Men frequently articulate this experience as a restoration of composure, whereas women occasionally depict it as the mind achieving clarity or a sense of ease. Each viewpoint reveals the same fundamental neurological change. The dynamics of hormones also contribute significantly. Cortisol levels, elevated during times of social density or stress, often diminish more swiftly when an individual finds themselves in a state of tranquil solitude. The parasympathetic nervous system plays a crucial role in this decline, as it slows the heart rate and promotes deeper breathing. Emotional regulation becomes more manageable, not due to the absence of emotions, but because the biological systems that support them strive for equilibrium. Research into self-soothing behaviors reveals that even brief periods of solitude, such as sitting in silence or making a simple meal, can contribute to emotional stability by lowering sympathetic activation. Quiet evenings often seem to bring back a sense of balance that had been strained throughout the day. Solitude provides working memory with the opportunity to process the emotional material that has built up over the course of the day. With a reduction in external demands vying for attention, the brain is able to weave experiences together in a more cohesive manner. Cognitive scientists describe this process as consolidation, a fundamental stage in which impressions, thoughts, and emotional responses are meticulously sorted and organized. In solitude, this process unfolds seamlessly, uninterrupted. Emotional clarity arises not through the repression of feelings, but by allowing the internal processes and the necessary time to integrate them into a broader story. This proves to be particularly beneficial for individuals who bear their responsibilities silently or who reflect on their experiences internally rather than expressing them outwardly. For numerous men, whose upbringing frequently promotes internal emotional reflection, solitude emerges as one of the rare settings where self-regulation occurs free from judgment or comparison. The stillness eliminates the necessity to seem collected, eloquent, or outwardly stable. Women, often more attuned to relational emotional processing, frequently discover that solitude provides a valuable counterbalance. It is a moment for individual rhythm, self-examination, or unraveling emotional complexities, free from the quiet influence of outside pressures. Each pathway guides toward improved regulation, yet the experiences vary in nuance, depending on personal temperament. As time passes, these minor regulatory instances build up, contributing to a greater sense of competence. As the nervous system consistently finds its balance in solitude, emotional responses transform, becoming more measured and easier to handle. The mind gradually learns to experience feelings in subtle shades rather than abrupt extremes. This process fortifies inner strength, transforming stressful moments into manageable experiences. Solitude transforms into a space of calibration, a gentle environment where emotional waves can be observed, softened, and integrated without urgency, rather than a mere retreat from the world. In this subtle shift, solitude unveils one of its most underestimated attributes. It serves as a subtle companion in maintaining emotional balance. The mind achieves equilibrium with greater ease, the nervous system calms, and the quality of experience transforms into something more refined. In these quiet moments, the emotional life remains ever present. It effortlessly transforms into a form that is more manageable. The narrative unfolds further, revealing how the essence of solitude shapes the mind's awareness of delicate changes, both internally and in the surrounding environment. In moments when the world becomes tranquil, a certain emotional safety emerges, allowing the self to blossom freely, unburdened by the need to guard, impress, or remain vigilant to the nuances of those around. In solitude, the nervous system becomes aware of the lack of unexpected signals. The narrative unfolds without abrupt shifts in emotion, devoid of tones to dissect, and free from expressions to interpret. These minor omissions accumulate over time. Researchers examining soft emotional shield observe that as external demands lessen, the autonomic nervous system lowers its baseline vigilance, enabling the parasympathetic branch to lead the body into more tranquil states. The sense of security found in solitude is not a mere illusion. Measurable physiological shifts provide support, signaling to the brain that it can soften. This gentle shift alters the flow of emotions within the mind. In the presence of others, even the most relaxed connections require a subtle form of mutual adjustment, where slight changes in posture, tone, and pacing occur without conscious thought. In solitude, these modifications bring a sense of calm. The amygdala shows reduced reactivity as it stops receiving a constant stream of social cues, allowing the prefrontal cortex to engage with emotions in a more nuanced and calm manner. Numerous men express this feeling as a release, a moment when the weight they bear all day begins to ease. Women might encounter a comparable experience, yet they often describe it as emotional spaciousness, as if solitude opens up space around their thoughts. Each interpretation reveals a shared sense of simplicity beneath the surface. Another aspect of emotional safety in solitude arises from diminished exposure to emotional contagion. Humans inherently take in the emotions of those around them, a subject that has been extensively explored in the field of social neuroscience. Even mild tension or excitement in a room can influence the body's physiological state, altering heart rate, breathing, and stress hormones. In solitude, the emotional echo fades away. In the absence of external emotional cues to reflect upon, the mind finds its way back to a fundamental state, re-establishing a connection with feelings that are genuinely its own, rather than mere echoes of the surroundings. This adds to the feeling of inner calm that frequently arises during tranquil evenings. Solitude also reduces the minor social uncertainties that may build up over the course of the day. Individuals often overlook the multitude of micro-decisions they navigate within social environments. Understanding when to engage in conversation, when to hold back, the right amount of eye contact to maintain, and how to read nuanced pauses or facial expressions is essential. These micro-decisions hold a subtle yet persistent cognitive significance, gently tapping into emotional reserves. By itself, this flow of small interpretations comes to a halt. Cognitive scientists observe that alleviating these demands diminishes internal tension, facilitating emotional regulation and aiding the nervous system in perceiving the environment as safe and predictable. As time passes, this sense of predictability weaves itself into the emotional sustenance that solitude offers. As the environment settles into a steady rhythm, the brain finds itself free from the necessity of bracing for unforeseen changes. The hypothalamus diminishes its stress signals, leading to a decrease in cortisol levels, while the mind starts to function in more gradual and stable patterns. Individuals frequently experience this as a comforting warmth, a sense of relief, or a tranquil feeling of reconnecting with their true selves. Men might perceive it as a moment when calmness re-establishes itself. The women might experience it as a sense of clarity, gradually resurfacing. Regardless of the feeling, it reveals a profound biological reality. The body acknowledges a sense of safety. This emotional safety fosters an environment where vulnerability can flourish, not as a form of exposure, but as a means to experience feelings without the necessity of explanation. In solitude, the inner tale takes on a gentler, more truthful quality. Minor emotions, often overlooked throughout the day, can be recognized at a leisurely pace. The individual is no longer engaging in a dialogue with the surroundings. It is merely witnessing, feeling, and restructuring. Psychologists examining self-reflective states observe that solitude fosters emotional honesty by alleviating performance-related pressures, permitting individuals to confront themselves with greater ease. In this serene setting, solitude transforms into something deeper than merely lacking companionship. It transforms into a serene refuge where emotional burdens can find their form and become easier to bear. The body releases its deeper tensions, the nervous system finds its balance, and the mind gently returns to its inherent flow. In solitude, safety emerges not as a withdrawal from the external realm, but as an invitation for the inner self to expand, to ease, and to discover solace in its own rhythm. In this tranquil haven, solitude unveils one of its most soothing treasures, the sense of security that allows one to simply be, free from expectation, free from obligation, and without the need to become anything beyond what is already present in this very moment. The process of making decisions transforms in nuanced and significant manners when an individual finds themselves in solitude. In the absence of external influences, reactions, tones, expectations, or subtle emotional cues, the mind finds a clearer space to assess possibilities. Researchers examining cognitive autonomy observe that even the most straightforward choices are influenced by the surrounding social environment. The presence of another individual, even in silence, has the power to change priorities, foster conformity, or influence the speed of decision-making. In solitude, these pressures diminish, allowing the cognitive systems tasked with evaluation and planning to function with reduced interference from competing signals. This frequently results in a feeling of clarity, not due to the simplification of decisions, but because the mind is able to perceive its own reasoning with greater precision. The prefrontal cortex holds a pivotal position in this process. It harmonizes future-oriented contemplation, assesses results, and weaves emotional insights into the process of making choices. In social settings, this region collaborates with networks that observe interpersonal cues, balancing its focus between internal reasoning and external understanding. The prefrontal cortex, in solitude, finds itself unburdened by this dual responsibility. Research indicates that there is diminished activity in areas associated with social observation when individuals make decisions alone, enabling the brain's evaluative mechanisms to operate more effectively. This fosters a mental space where decisions appear more deliberate and resonate more closely with individual principles. The lack of social comparison also enhances this clarity. The way human cognition operates is subtly shaped by the potential perceptions or interpretations of others regarding a decision, even in the absence of any overt judgment. In solitude, the cognitive mirroring diminishes. Individuals tend to focus on their own perspectives and priorities, often overlooking the potential for different viewpoints or the responses of others. For numerous men, this transition appears as a restoration of inner balance, a capacity to make choices grounded in solid personal logic, instead of nuanced social influences. Women might perceive it as a reflective embrace, a fleeting instance where opportunities flourish instead of diminish. Both depict a decrease in the surrounding noise related to the decision itself. Another significant aspect of making decisions alone pertains to the management of emotions. In moments of tranquility, decisions reveal their true clarity. The calmness of solitude, characterized by a slower heart rate, decreased cortisol levels, and a more subdued amygdala response, sets the stage for decisions that are less swayed by fleeting stress. Cognitive scientists refer to this phenomenon as emotional decoupling, a process in which the emotional intensity linked to a decision diminishes, allowing the logical aspects to assume a more prominent role. In solitude, even complex decisions take on a sense of clarity, as the emotional landscape becomes less overwhelming. Solitude fosters a space for profound contemplation, enabling the mind to explore the reasons that underlie a decision. When distractions are minimized, working memory is able to retain pertinent information more reliably, allowing the brain the opportunity to draw connections, consider different options, or reflect on details that may have been missed during more hectic times. This contemplative environment proves especially beneficial for decisions that carry lasting consequences, shape identity, or foster personal development. The mind is not hurried into swift judgments. Wandering is permitted, allowing for reflection and a gradual sense of resolution. The tranquility of the environment further influences this process. Uninterrupted, the mind embarks on a journey known to researchers as deliberative drift, a gradual transition between thoughts that fosters the blending of logic and intuition. This drift appears to lack the essence of problem-solving when viewed from an external perspective. What might seem like silent observation, a leisurely stroll through the home, or a pause in motion, carries a deeper significance. Yet within, the mind meticulously arranges information, paving the way for future understanding. In solitude, the intervals stretch, allowing insights to emerge more readily as the mind finds ample space to fully process them. In these ways, solitude emerges as a soft companion in the process of making choices. It alleviates the understated tensions that come with social settings, soothes the emotional terrain, and provides the mind with the necessary time and space to consider decisions with genuine thoughtfulness. Choices crafted in isolation frequently possess a deeper sense of authenticity, as they emerge from a space free of external influences and expectations. The stillness brings clarity to purpose, highlights what truly matters, and allows thoughts to find their rightful place. In the quiet moments, decisions shift from a sense of haste to a focus on harmony, influenced by the gentle lucidity that solitude offers to one's thoughts. Strength is frequently envisioned as a loud or forceful presence, yet in moments of solitude, it assumes a more subtle form. As individuals navigate through life, experiencing moments of independence, their minds slowly construct internal frameworks that foster resilience. These structures do not represent the striking advancements linked to abrupt transformation. They develop gradually through a series of encounters with minor obstacles faced independently. Psychologists examining emotional resilience observe that self-reliance emerges from internal problem-solving patterns, allowing the mind to understand its ability to navigate uncertainty without succumbing to distress. The backdrop of solitude offers a unique opportunity for learning, as it fosters an environment where one's internal capabilities can be explored and tested softly, free from outside distractions. One of the most fundamental contributors to quiet strength is the experience of self-directed coping. In moments of solitude, when challenges emerge, be they practical, emotional, or cognitive, the mind is compelled to activate its regulatory and planning mechanisms, relying solely on its internal resources without the benefit of immediate social interaction. The prefrontal cortex, known for its role in organizing responses and ensuring stability, becomes increasingly adept at guiding behavior on its own. As time passes, this continual activation forges neural pathways linked to confidence and a sense of control, Individuals who find themselves in solitude frequently articulate an increasing capacity to ground themselves, not by means of denial or repression, but by becoming acquainted with their own inner workings. The nervous system subtly reinforces this strength. When a person faces tension independently, the body adapts by calming itself without relying on outside comfort or affirmation. The heart rate finds its balance through breathing patterns that are guided from within. As the parasympathetic system activates, muscle tension diminishes and cortisol levels decline in reaction to the tranquility of a familiar environment. These physiological patterns demonstrate to the body its ability to recover independently, without the need for external cues. Men frequently express this experience as a profound strength, a sense that they can endure life's ups and downs due to having traversed numerous silent moments on their own. Women might express it as a soft sense of self-reliance, a realization that their emotional equilibrium can be regained from within. Both experiences reveal a shared underlying principle. The development of cognitive resilience unfolds in tandem with these processes. In solitude, the mind finds the space to wander through challenging memories, lingering doubts, and unresolved thoughts, allowing it to explore these complexities at its own rhythm. Freed from the need to rationalize or defend experiences, the mind is able to perceive them with greater clarity, weaving them seamlessly into the larger tapestry of identity. Research indicates that individuals who frequently partake in reflective solitude cultivate more robust frameworks for understanding events, thereby providing them with a safeguard against future stress. Rather than succumbing to the weight of challenges, the mind learns to contextualize them, thereby diminishing their emotional impact. Even the smallest gestures of self-care add to this subtle resilience. Preparing a meal alone, establishing the rhythm of the day, or addressing minor issues independently conveys to the nervous system that the surroundings are under control. Behavioral researchers describe this concept as quiet inner competence, the conviction that an individual can effectuate significant change in the world. Quiet inner competence quietly asserts itself, lacking in loudness or drama. It emerges from the simple, recurring proof that your actions hold significance. In solitude, these moments gather freely, fostering a sense of calm capability that strengthens with the passage of time. As time passes, this feeling of competence becomes deeply connected to one's sense of self. Individuals start to recognize themselves not merely as those who can face challenges, but as those who have repeatedly triumphed over them. The internal narratives shape the emotional expectations of individuals. The mind grows increasingly assured that challenging times will eventually fade, more tolerant of its own uncertainties, and more anchored in the understanding that resilience unfolds as a journey, not merely a trial. Solitude enhances this narrative by allowing the mind to have uninterrupted time to identify its own patterns and strengths. In these ways, self-reliance emerges as a subtle yet profound form of strength, one that exists without the need for proclamation. It evolves through gentle instances of navigating life independently, through the careful reconstruction that comes after adversity, and through the quiet validations that emerge when an individual realizes their own potential. Independence transforms into a solid base, allowing connections to flourish and grow stronger rather than serving as a means to flee from them. In solitude, an environment emerges where a foundation can take shape, allowing the mind to gradually and gently discover its own strength. It learns to stand firm, make choices, and navigate the world with an inner steadiness that is not reliant on external influences. In that softness, a unique strength arises, crafted not through force, but through the quiet assurance of self-reliance. Self-awareness flourishes in settings where external distractions diminish, enabling the mind to reflect on itself undisturbed. In solitude, this observational space broadens. In the absence of the ongoing necessity to decipher the expressions of others or to navigate social intricacies, mental energy turns inward. Researchers examining introspective cognition observe that the inner mind's gentle drift becomes increasingly active during quiet, unstructured moments. This interconnected set of brain regions facilitates reflection on thoughts, memory recall, and the imagination of future possibilities. As solitude allows this network to function without restraint, the mind starts to recognize patterns that it misses amidst the hustle and bustle of daily life. The absence of social mirroring stands out as a significant factor in fostering self-awareness during moments of solitude. Individuals naturally reflect the feelings, responses, and viewpoints of their surroundings. This subtle yet ongoing mirroring influences your self-perception in ways that often go unnoticed. In solitude, this influence diminishes. In the absence of external emotional influences, the mind is able to identify its own feelings with enhanced clarity. Numerous men express this experience as finally allowing their thoughts to resonate, as if their minds have found the room to reverberate. Women frequently articulate it as a process of untangling, a delicate distinction between their own feelings and the emotions they have absorbed over the course of the day. Both reveal a similar neurological process, where the self becomes more visible when the environment ceases to influence it. Isolation alters the way the mind perceives previous events. As immediate demands lessen, the mind turns inward, exploring memories with a sense of reflection rather than reaction. Cognitive psychologists refer to this phenomenon as memory's gentle weaving, a process by which the mind weaves experiences into a cohesive personal understanding. In solitude, this process takes on a slower, more intentional pace. The emotions connected to a memory gradually lose their intensity as the mind reassesses their importance, situating them within the larger narrative of one's life. One reason for the deepening of self-awareness lies in moments of solitude. The mind engages in a dynamic process, reshaping the way experiences contribute to one's sense of self. A further aspect of this development arises from diminished emotional disruption. In the company of others, the mind diligently observes the faint emotional signals that linger in the air. The narrative unfolds with subtle shifts in energy, capturing reactions to the smallest details. In solitude, these cues fade away. The emotional energy finds its balance, allowing the mind to rest without the need to adjust to the influences of others. Neuroscientists note that this stabilization enhances clarity in the anterior cingulate cortex, a region responsible for monitoring internal states. In moments when this region exists within a calmer emotional environment, individuals frequently discover it simpler to recognize their genuine feelings, as opposed to the emotions they believe they ought to experience. Self-awareness deepens when an individual encounters silence, not merely the lack of sound, but the void of stimuli that demand a response. In this quietude, reflections meander and rearrange themselves naturally, without any compulsion. Questions emerge organically, driven by a sense of wonder rather than obligation. What was it that troubled me today? Which aspect of that moment held significance? How is one truly faring beneath the surface? These reflections do not constitute tasks. These are subtle shifts of thought that occur when the surroundings cease to require focus. As time passes, these minor reflections build up, leading to a richer comprehension. The significance of autonomy is paramount. As one decides how to allocate their time, whether to linger on a thought or delve into a feeling, the mind gradually builds a stronger bond with itself. Trust is cultivated through self-directed attention. One discovers the ability to navigate their own inner landscape, finding strength in self-reliance rather than seeking external guidance or diversion. For many men, this trust evolves into a profound internal steadiness, fostering a belief that they can traverse their emotional landscape independently, free from external influence. Women frequently perceive it as a source of emotional stability, providing a more defined understanding of their inner voice. Regardless of the variations in description, the fundamental psychological process remains unchanged. In solitude, the self encounters its true essence completely. As this self-awareness deepens, the nature of solitude undergoes a profound transformation. It shifts focus from the absence of others to the presence of oneself in a profound manner. The stillness brings forth reflections that had been overshadowed, emphasizes desires that had been overlooked, and untangles the emotional strands that were knotted by the day's haste. The mind grows increasingly familiar, more understandable, and earns greater trust. Within this familiarity, solitude reveals one of its most delicate treasures: the opportunity to grasp your true self, free from distraction, devoid of pressure, and untouched by the relentless influence of the world. A gentle companionship emerges, where the self exists as both observer and participant, unfolding effortlessly within the tranquility of solitude. Creativity frequently emerges in the serene moments when the world relaxes its hold on perception. In solitude, stripped of conversation, notifications, and the gentle tug of another's presence, the mind is granted the liberty to roam freely. This journey has purpose. Neuroscientists examining mind's free-flowing connections, a process that fosters creativity, reveal that solitude diminishes external constraints, enabling the brain to link ideas that typically stay apart. Within this boundless space, ideas take on fresh forms, and understanding emerges with a soft lucidity. Among the crucial systems engaged in this process is the inner mind's gentle drift, a collection of brain regions that come alive during daydreaming, imagination, and introspection. In solitude, the inner mind's gentle drift finds a new level of synchronization, enabling the mind to journey through memories, possibilities, and abstract concepts seamlessly. This is the fertile ground where imagination flourishes. In a realm free from the burden of social expectations and external pressures, the brain embarks on a journey of reorganization, skillfully intertwining various strands of experience to create a fresh tapestry of understanding. Numerous men recount these instances as abrupt flashes of insight, whereas women frequently articulate them as a deep-seated intuition, both representing distinct interpretations of the same neurological experience. Researchers in psychology, examining the effects of silent idea ripening, a phenomenon where solutions emerge after taking a break from a problem, discover that solitude amplifies this process. As an individual ceases their active pursuit of a solution and allows their thoughts to wander, the subconscious mind diligently operates in the shadows, processing and unraveling complexities unnoticed. Connections emerge effortlessly, and solutions frequently surface in surprising ways. This explains why thoughts often emerge during solitary walks, peaceful showers, or moments of tranquility before sleep. The mind exhibits greater flexibility when it is not confined to rigid patterns of thought. A further factor that enhances creative insight in solitude is the diminished cognitive load. In a straightforward and predictable environment, there is a reduced expenditure of mental resources on processing external details. This liberates cognitive resources for introspective discovery. In the absence of competing demands, one can traverse unconventional avenues of thought, delve into inquiries that were previously overlooked throughout the day, or contemplate possibilities that once seemed too far-fetched. Environmental psychologists observe that environments with low stimulation, soft lighting, and slow pacing, along with familiar rooms, foster this internal exploration by establishing a sense of gentle perceptual ease. In this state, creativity flows effortlessly and feels more instinctive. Emotion holds significant importance as well. The narrative unfolds in a way that allows for a deeper appreciation of solitude, as it calms the nervous system and provides space for emotionally charged thoughts to be felt without haste. This emotional stillness allows creative ideas to develop slowly and thoughtfully. As the body finds tranquility, the mind enhances its ability to reach profound depths of thought, tapping into accumulated experiences, nuanced impressions, and instinctive connections. Creativity unfolds gently, surfacing gradually when one is not actively seeking it, transforming into a subtle emergence rather than a deliberate effort. For numerous men, who frequently bring their problem-solving inclinations into moments of solitude, creative insight emerges as a clarity that intensifies independently. Women, often inclined towards relational or narrative thinking, frequently perceive creativity as a story unfolding in the background of their minds. These differences illuminate not a divide, but a rich tapestry of diversity in the operation of the same underlying systems when liberated from external pressures. The canvas is provided by solitude. The mind interprets it in its unique manner. As time passes, these moments of creativity come to shape solitude into an essential aspect of cognitive existence. The stillness is linked to moments of discovery, insights, and nuanced realizations that remain hidden amidst the clamor of bustling surroundings. In solitude, a workshop emerges for the subconscious, a realm where the mind roams freely to experiment, envision, and forge connections that nurture both creativity and profound understanding. Within this gentle environment, creativity emerges as a calm and consistent force, flowing not from stress, but from the free exploration of a mind at ease. It flows seamlessly into the subsequent idea, where solitude influences not just your emotions, but also the visions you can conjure within the quiet of your own inner realm. Solitude might appear to contradict connection, yet it frequently serves as the fertile ground from which healthy relationships emerge. As one withdraws from the clamor of social existence, the mind finds the opportunity to reflect on interactions that were too swift or intricate to grasp at the time. Researchers in the field of psychology, examining interpersonal clarity, observe that moments of emotionally restorative solitude enhance the precision of social perception. This improvement arises from a reduction in stress, stabilization of mood, and the facilitation of reflective processing. Upon returning from solitude, individuals frequently engage with greater thoughtfulness, enhanced patience, and a profound sense of presence. One of the most significant factors driving this change is emotional replenishment. Social interactions, regardless of their positivity, demand ongoing micro-regulation of emotion. In solitude, the nervous system undergoes a transformation. Cortisol levels diminish, parasympathetic activity rises, and the mind slowly regains its balance. This allows for a more open listening experience, fostering understanding without haste, and enabling expression without overwhelming emotions. Numerous individuals express that this offers a renewed sense of space for community and connection. Women frequently express that it feels sufficiently clear to establish a connection. Both experiences reveal a shared biological adjustment. Solitude replenishes the emotional reserves that relationships deplete. The development of self-awareness, deepened in previous moments of solitude, significantly contributes to the narrative. As individuals come to grasp their own boundaries, needs, and emotional rhythms, their ability to communicate with others becomes clearer and more effective. Solitude aids in recognizing these internal signals. In the absence of external distractions, the mind becomes attuned to the delicate boundaries of exhaustion and resentment, the emergence of longing, and the presence of deeper, unvoiced needs. Social neuroscientists observe that individuals who regularly engage in reflective solitude often develop more stable connections as they approach these relationships with clearer expectations and a more solid understanding of themselves. Solitude also enriches the experience of empathy. When the mind is free from excess, it opens up the possibility to envision the inner landscapes of others. Research in effective neuroscience reveals that empathy necessitates a sense of internal spaciousness. An overstimulated brain struggles to connect with the emotions of others. Isolation broadens this ability. Individuals who frequently carve out moments for solitude tend to emerge with a softer perspective on the actions of others, a reduced tendency for hasty judgments, and a more forgiving appreciation of human flaws. Solitude provides emotional experiences, the opportunity to settle, fostering the emergence of compassionate responses in a more organic manner. Solitude has the power to enhance connection by alleviating unexpressed tension. When an individual understands that they can withdraw into a serene environment when necessary, connections become less stifling. The presence of independence diminishes the anxiety surrounding emotional connections, as one has the assurance that solitude remains a constant source of stability. This fosters connections grounded in choice instead of reliance, where being together is purposeful and reciprocal rather than forced. Many men find comfort in connecting, knowing they can retreat to solitude afterward. Numerous women find that having personal space to unwind before re-engaging helps them feel more emotionally centered. These patterns reveal how solitude fosters connection instead of reducing it. Even communication flourishes when solitude weaves itself into the fabric of life's rhythm. In moments of quiet reflection, the mind engages in a rehearsal of thoughts, a refinement of feelings, and a gentle softening of reactive impulses. Given the opportunity for private reflection, individuals frequently articulate their thoughts with greater precision and reduced emotional intensity. Connections thrive through this deliberate and reflective approach. Emotional conversations shift from being centered on pent-up tension to fostering a deeper understanding. Conflicts become gentler as reactions are influenced by contemplation instead of impulsiveness. As time passes, solitude emerges as a grounding influence in the dynamics of relationships. It presents a space for emotions to rejuvenate, for meaning to be re-examined, and for the mind to ready itself to engage with the world from a standpoint of resilience instead of exhaustion. Rather than distancing individuals from one another, solitude fosters a connection that is healthier, more intentional, and more humane. In this delicate balance of inward reflection and outward expression, the depth of human relationships reveals itself more vividly. In moments of solitude, the heart finds the necessary space to rejuvenate, leading to a return to others that is gentler, more reflective, and profoundly anchored in authentic connection. As the stillness of this moment envelops you, gratitude fills the air for the time we have shared this evening. In those gentle moments of stillness, where the world softens at the edges and the mind drifts at its own pace, a gift is bestowed upon oneself. Solitude is not merely an experience. It resides within, perpetually poised to embrace you when the clamor of life grows overwhelming. Allowing oneself to pause in this moment, even briefly, holds a significance that might not be immediately apparent. The journey through thoughts of independence, calm, and self-understanding has brought you incrementally closer to that serene core within. At this moment, there is nothing that requires resolution. There is no need for any decisions to be made. One finds oneself precisely in the right place at this moment. Allow the quiet to embrace you for just a moment more. Allow it to embrace the body softly, the breath, the gentle cadence of the mind, settling into tranquility. As the night deepens, remember that you are not traversing it in solitude. I am sincerely thankful for your presence. The quiet sessions transform into something meaningful due to the presence brought to them, the readiness to slow down, to breathe, and to listen to oneself with kindness. In times of seeking tranquility, a reassuring presence, or a brief pause for reflection, one is always invited to come back. For now, let the calm drift forward. Let the thoughts loosen. Let the breath fall into its own gentle pattern, and allow the night to embrace you softly, just as you are, as you surrender to rest. Together, we have quietly walked through the gentlest moments of silence in our souls, where loneliness isn't emptiness, but a place where we truly return to ourselves. Thank you for being here tonight, listening and letting your mind rest with Sleep Science Top 1. This isn't just a video, this is a place you can return to any night, finding peace told through science, through the gentlest and most sincere truths about yourself. If tonight's journey brings you a little tranquility, a little relief, please give me a like, subscribe so you don't miss the next nights, and if you wish, leave a comment about a moment today when you felt truly comfortable being alone. Just a short line, but it could be a small light guiding others who need tranquility to this place. Now, let your breath slow, let your thoughts gently fade away, and let the night softly embrace you. Sleep well. I'll be waiting for you next night.